Marketable items and toys are a huge part of the magical girl genre, that's no secret. And it turns out I am one of those people they're successfully targeting. Wands and transformations are things I've been fascinated by since I was a little girl, so naturally as an adult with adult money, I make financial decisions. And my decision to collect toys from older series of the 90s and 2000s has opened my eyes to the many errors and missteps of toy manufacturing during that era. Not sure what it was about the late 90s. Maybe it was the turn of the millennium and its popular futuristic aesthetics, but a lot of creative chances were taken when it came to the toys of this time, namely those of a popular children's show in Japan, Ojamajo Doreimi. Magical girl toys were already known to have bells and whistles naturally, but some of the Doreimi toys were nearly experimental. And while this made for great Christmas and birthday presents in 1999, the toys have aged drastically in the 20-odd years since. Some better than others. It's just clear that these toys were made to be here for a good time, not a long time. Sure, it's common to mass market toys in a show for the purpose of making sales. Greedy. But they also must function canonically within the story. The magic items in Ojamajo Doreimi served various purposes within the show, from helping them transform to modes of communication, and even helping boost the flavor in baked goods. And the quirky qualities in these items made for some very interesting physical products. Season 1 begins with Doreimi learning that she must become a witch apprentice to lift the curse she accidentally put on Majorika in discovering her true identity. She receives the apprentice tap to help her transform, and her very own wand to cast magic spells. And of course, toys were made to accompany the release of the show, and boy were they well designed. They were simple, effective, and fit perfectly with the vibe of the show. The transformation device, called the apprentice tap, pretty much serves as a symbol for the show now. Its clear plastic shell housing half-exposed rainbow spheres is stylish and still translates well in the countless variety of products they've made over the years. A big problem with Ojamajo Doreimi's vintage toys, as with most plastic factory-made products, is that they yellow over time. What was once a vibrant reddish pink becomes a weird orangey yellow if not properly protected. If I had to choose which toy ages the best over time, I would still choose the apprentice tap overall, which says a lot about our upcoming toys in this video. The wand, known as the Pepperuta Put-On, is vibrant and best known for its bead dispensing mechanic. Called Magic Seeds in the show, the spheres produce the power needed to cast spells and have to be refilled once they've run out. I love the Pepperuta Put-On. I think it's one of the most iconic images to come out of this series, and while it does experience yellowing like any other toy, my own hasn't hit that point yet. I want to thank 10-year-old to teenage me for making sure it was a priority object in every house move. However, with the beads being removable, you can only imagine how many of these were lost to the dark corners of modern family homes and car floors. I'm proud to say I've only lost one in its lifetime. Within the first month of owning it. The absence of just one bead causes the rest to clack against each other within the rod, resulting in chipped plastic on the beads over time, as well as this cloudy appearance within the staff. The same is so for the Pua Pua Put-On, which is more or less an extended version of its counterpart's rod. It's a shame because it slightly dampens the look of an otherwise pretty item. Halfway through the season, the characters take their level 6 Witch Apprentice exam, and their magic wands are upgraded to the spinning wonder known as the Kururu Put-On. Yes, the names of the items sound more or less all like that. I have no notes. No notes. This is my favorite Doreimi item. My favorite magical girl wand in general. Yes, the sound will start to age until it breaks down completely, just like any other toy with a voice box. And the beads will likely suffer the same fate as the other beads mentioned due to their ejectable quality, but with no pink plastic and hardly any white plastic surface area on it, its appearance doesn't suffer nearly as badly from age as some of the other items in the show. This was one of my long-time holy grail items that I was finally able to get recently, thanks to a lovely friend who I purchased it from. It is the Italian release edition, but it is exactly the same as the Japanese version, just in a different box. and it is so gorgeous and looks brand new, and I will stop now before I continue gushing. The season 1 items are the oldest, but they hold up well. I'll give them an A-. They have their issues such as yellowing, but still manage to maintain their primary mechanics after all this time. The creators played it safe when you consider that which is to come. Ojamajo Doreimi kicked off the turn of the millennium with its second season, Ojamajo Doreimi Sharp. This is my favorite season of Doreimi because of its very sweet messages, along with its overall flowery theming. The magic shop the girls work in becomes a flower shop for this season, and to follow suit, all of the magic items they're given have rather tongue-in-cheek flower themes. The transformation device, the rhythm tap, is quite literally shaped like a flower, but is also very similar in appearance to the apprentice tap from last season. The clear encasing houses the magic seeds, this time with the hatch feature that allows you to open and remove them. Yay! More removable tiny objects. Surely this will pan out well. Kidding aside, this is by far my favorite transformation device. I think it's simple and gorgeous, and its flower shape enhances that by far. Unfortunately, everyone agrees with me, and I don't own this item because of its insane value on the secondhand market. Aside from the typical yellowing over time and the double-edged sword removable magic seeds, this one has aged pretty beautifully. I guess I understand why it's so popular. The magic wand of this season, called the Pico Puron, is another story, likely inspired by some of the magic wands that came before it, like Creamy Mommy's Creamy Stick and Cardcaptor Sakura's Star Wand. This toy's mechanism is a music note centerpiece that spins at the touch of a button. Not only that, but the rosebud on top is filled with scented whatever to emit a sweet scent when the music note is spinning. I truly don't know what substance this piece was filled with. The problem is the touch to spin mechanism is not reliable. As you can imagine, after several years it does not spin on command as frequently, or it just stops altogether. I mean, imagine someone pressing the button over and over and over to watch it spin. Nothing that requires mechanical upkeep like this is going to last as a children's toy. People have told me that oiling the rods may help in the long run, but I am not a car mechanic. Oh, and the scented rosebud on top just dries up into this crusty pink substance that doesn't smell particularly strong, but hey, at least it doesn't smell bad. All of these grievances combined, along with the typical yellowing, make the Pico Puron among the cheaper options on the secondhand market. Back when I bought mine, I made sure to get one that works, but even then I didn't spend that much on it. It's not my favorite wands, but even after all I've said, I do appreciate a spinning mechanism. A few less iconic but also well-used items from this season are the Kururin call, used for communication, which later transformed into the Paterein call, and the Wreath Puron, which was an essential item used to help save baby Hana from being kidnapped by the Flat Four. Gosh, none of this must make sense if you haven't seen Ojamajo Doreimi. But I guess here is my reminder to you to watch Ojamajo Doreimi. Just saying. The antennae on both phones kind of just crumble into nothing after many years, which is why it's rare to find one on the market that even has the yellow stub attached. This is quite normal for old rubbery plastic. I have an old Android phone case that did the exact same thing. And the Wreath Puron doesn't have any reported issues in aging compared to most other items from this season, so I'm going to give Sharp's toys a solid B+, which does hurt me as a Sharp and rhythm tap lover, but this was really the time when you started to see more innovative ideas coming from the creators of the show. Essentially, this was the point of no return. The items I'm talking about in this video may be old, but these ones are not. I'm no stranger to cute stuff around here, and Bleepo was kind enough to send me some goods from their new product line. Bleepo is the world's #1 selection of kawaii stuff from Japan. They sell so many cute and officially licensed character goods, plushies, stationery, and more, including Rilakkuma, Sanrio, Ojamajo Doreimi, Precure, and Sailor Moon. They gave me this cute pencil case I used to hold the pens for my multiple notebooks at this point, and this lunchbox, which I've actually been desperately needing, and I can confirm that it keeps my food and beverages hold, and it looks cute while doing it. So you can use the link in my description below if you'd like to purchase something and receive a free gift with whatever you purchase. The link will last until July 10th, so use it while you can, and thank you again to Bleepo for sending me these products to review. Now back to the video. I just want you guys to know, since I'm showing so much of my collection throughout this video, that collecting does take time and patience. These goods that I have were in no way gathered over a short amount of time, and I make it a point to wait until I see a good, affordable deal on vintage items. And even then, I usually don't buy items that often. It's grown slowly over the past 3-4 years, a huge part in thanks to Zen Market, which I used to shop the secondhand sites like Mercari Japan and Yahoo Japan auctions. I have an affiliate link down in the description if you are interested in that. Moving on. Moving on to a huge bright spot in the series. Moto Ojimajo Doreimi came to be in 2001 as the third season of the Doreimi franchise. Instead of flowers, this season focused on the characters creating baked goods in order to please the 6 senior witches of the witch world and become full-fledged witches themselves. Baking and sweets always proves to be a super fun concept tie-in in magical girl media, and this season of Doreimi is no different. This time the magic wand is in the shape of a candy cane, for crying out loud. You can't get much more peak than that. The magic items from this season are just super cool in my opinion. The transformation is my favorite of the franchise because it's memorable and easy to follow. I swear I still do the dance to this day, and Bandai really tried to bring these items' concepts to life through the toys, but I'm not sure if they were as successful as previous years. The wand I just mentioned is called the Sweet Put-On, and in this season, as they cast their iconic magic spells, a sort of obscure, sparkly magic glitter travels up the rod, lighting up the top bow on its way. Side note, but I love the magic stage of this season. It's so cool and the music is super fun. However, how do you even replicate such a function in toy form? With styrofoam! Huh? What was that? That wasn't your first guess? Well, I'll give it to them for the innovation. I think there's something like a mini fan at the bottom of the wand that, when activated, blows up the styrofoam beads in a spiral swirl, which is all good and well, if only they didn't get stuck at the top of the toy. What a huge oversight. If the button is pressed enough, eventually all of the styrofoam bits get stuck in this pocket at the top. I feel like this was completely avoidable. They don't even fall back down by shaking the rod either. I've been told that the only way to reverse this is to take the entire toy apart and remove the beads from the top manually, which is crazy. The last thing I want to do is dismantle my collectible toy. I'd be willing to try this on a cheap junky one, you know, like as an experiment, but on one that actually works, nuh-uh. No way. No ma'am. If you can't tell, this toy irks me the most by far. It's a manufacturing error that occurred as a result of oversight and likely mass production. I hope that if the chance ever comes for them to remake this item, that they fix this problem. I'd hand my money right over. The transformation device is called the Parara Tap, and like I mentioned before, this transformation is everything. The dance, the catchy hook. Anyone can do it. What a great example of an imitable transformation. But the toy... Yeah. The actual dance is quite fast and may have been tough for toddler-age kids to imitate on their own. This isn't so much a comment on its aging as much as it is just me disliking the half-speed pacing. However, with age, the typical voice box crunch sounds that much worse, to the point of it being indistinguishable. At least I was able to vaguely listen to it with my own 2 ears. The bigger problem that the Parara Tap has with age is its wristband. Similar to the plastic plastic on the two cell phones, this rubbery strap breaks down over time, but rather than crumbling, it becomes rather sticky.
It is kind of sticky.
Who doesn't want to slap that on their wrist? If you manage to get it on, of course. Another prime item from this season includes the pâtissier prawn, which was expertly used by the characters to add just a little more helpful magic to the baked goods they would give to customers. Other than yellowing, I really have no complaints about this toy. It's very gorgeous. Even when it has yellowed, you can't really tell the difference between old and new because they expertly chose a beige base color for this plastic. And I think a lot of fans agree with me on the beauty of this product, considering I hardly ever see it sold on the internet for less than $300. But even with as bright of a spot as the pâtissier prawn makes, I unfortunately would grade the moto items as a whole with a C. The designs are super cute and the season itself is super fun, but when made into toys, a good chunk of details were missed or overlooked. I'm sad, but we must overcome it as we move on to the fourth and final season of the show, with toys so head-scratching it really does feel like the final shebang. Ojamajo Doremi Dokkan, airing in 2002, was the final mainline season of the Doremi franchise, one that is well loved for its character, conclusions, and writing. With it being the final season, the creators sought to do things a bit differently when it came to the magic items. Previously distinguishable by their pink color palette, the first 3 seasons of Doremi items fit together quite well, but in 2002, the creators traded out the iconic salmon pink of the previous items for a simple and clean white. Even the transformations of this season were less choreographed and detailed, instead being a little shorter and not as sequential. I think I've read before that fans were not too pleased by these changes at the time, but they definitely grew on people over the years, and the designs translated into some very beautiful items. Okay, I think I'm gonna talk about the season's items from least to most insane. Alright, the jewelry put on serves as the magic wand for this season, and aside from being a different color, this wand's overall structure is very different from its predecessors. Rather than having its key mechanic within the top half of the rod, this one occurs in the middle, as you pull the wand from either side to reveal a gem in the center that lights up when activated. The gem in the toy doesn't actually spin like it does in the show, but we saw what happened last time with spinning objects. A big problem that Dokkan's items have experienced over the years is in part thanks to the same thing that made them different, the white plastic. I've mentioned yellowing plastic very loosely throughout this video, mostly because it's a common thing that is almost unavoidable, and the aging of pink plastic results in a sort of passable salmony beige color, but the yellowing of the white plastic looks so bad on these toys that it's impossible to ignore. What was once a beautiful item ages to look like someone left it in a puddle of rain. The same can be said for the character Hana's transformation compact. I am a bit more partial to it because her transformation and compact are my favorite in the show. I never promised fairness. But Hana's compact ages quite well otherwise. The gold plating does seem to chip off over time, but it kind of creates a glittery layer over the inside that honestly looks pretty. I never promised fairness. Before getting to talk about the most unfortunately designed item in the franchise, I want to give a special shout out to another outlier toy that wasn't a mainstay in the season's items, but was an idea nonetheless. The Doreimani Deluxe hand weaving machine. Dokkan's Witch World premise was all about the girls creating handmade goods in order to remind the former witch queen of the good times that she shared with her 6 grandchildren. And if that doesn't make much sense, watch Ojamajo Doremi. Of course, this meant toy manufacturers were going to give kids the chance to recreate some of the items that they saw in the show. But seriously, what is this? Even I don't think I could use that thing, even with instructions. And the fuzzy string it comes with made it all the more confusing and frustrating, I'm sure, because this thing is usually sold for very cheap, with missing parts, or just untouched altogether. Knitting and weaving toys do already exist, but I'm not sure Doremi was very popular with this one. Finally, the most unhinged, poorest aging item is the transformation device itself. This time the girls traded in rhythmic taps and bracelets for a perfume bottle. Iconic. The cologne tap is designed in the shape of a white heart with a glass window allowing you to see sparkling gems floating around inside. How adorable! This is such a simple yet beautiful design that elevated the character's image from kids to the preteens they were becoming by the end of the show. And in creating a toy to replicate this look, the designers likely wanted it to feel as realistic as possible. And so, real liquid and real glitter were used as the center filling for the toy. You can only imagine where this is going. It's a no-brainer why they chose to do this. It looks awesome. When I first saw pictures of this toy on the internet as a kid, I was mesmerized. I wanted it so badly, and I couldn't understand why it was $200 on eBay. I wish it were $200 now. However, putting liquid in toys and gadgets is never really something that results in a happy ending. Over the years, pretty much all owners of this toy have confirmed that either the liquid has dried up, leaving behind crusty, immovable glitter, or leaked out of the toy, completely damaging the entire electronic system. It's incredibly rare to see one with liquid still in it in 2024, and when it is there, it's at the lowest height possible. This is such a shame for a toy that once looked so beautiful and is now sad and crusty on the inside. I hope I didn't just describe anyone there. It makes collecting one very difficult for myself because they never really look that great, which is so sad for a toy that once was and still is on my dreamy list. Dokkan's main magical items are quite rare in general, never really showing up in the secondhand search results that often, and when they are, they're almost always completely out of my budget. It makes me wonder why that is, but maybe families in Japan figured throwing away this particular season's items made more sense because of how bad they ended up looking. All of these things combined unfortunately puts Dokkan at the bottom of the aging Doreimani toys ranking with a C-. The only thing keeping it from a D is Hana's compact. It holds a lot of weight for me. It's really interesting how Doreimani's toys evolved over the course of its run. Improvements were made on design and quality, but long-term quality fell after each season. Of course, I don't think the manufacturers at Bandai really counted on these items still remaining in fans' possession 25 years on. Landfills were probably their best bet, and unfortunately, items this small of this mass-produced nature can't be expected to look and sound the same so many years later, which is why new product lines such as Special Memorize, Pretty Memories, and Proplica exist to remake, replicate, and correct some of the features on toys of years past before a now older audience to enjoy. They've remade the major items from season 1, and I'm so eager to see if they'll continue on to Sharp through Dokkan. I need to see the Sweet Puron and the Cologne Tap toys reimagined for my own sanity. Anyway, I hope you learned something new in my ramblings about toys from 20 years ago. I collect them, as you can tell, so I am hyper aware of this stuff and have always found it interesting, and now I've cursed you with this knowledge. Tell me what your favorite toy mentioned was. I make lots of magical nostalgic content on here and on Instagram, and I have quite a lineup of videos coming this summer, so be sure to stick around for them. Until then, I'll see you in my dreams. Bye, friend!